Hey, Anthony, do you like my new shirt?
Sure, man. It's cool. Could have been better.
What was that?
I said it could have been better.
You want to fight about it?
Yeah, I do. Let's go, chump. Hold on a second. We don't need to fight.
We don't?
All you need to do is go to 86.com and choose from one of their many designs. Franchises range from Skullgirls to Street Fighter and even BlazBlue. And if you check out 86 through this Twitch channel, use 86.com/AFF=4 to let them know that Mission Star Podcast sent you.
Okay, cool. So we are going to start now. Are you guys all excited to light up and we all have awesome sparkling and blinking stuff like that? So welcome to the cosplay lighting, or LED lighting and cosplay panel. And let's see, to start running the slides? Because they have the introductions.
Okay, first off, I'm Cherry Tree Girl. I go by Chaw on Facebook, over Cherry. And I've been cosplaying for 15 years, since 2003. And I've been improving my skills and learning new things with each project. I'm also part of different dance groups, mainly Angel Hearts with Keith. We've been performing at Fanime and Bay Area events and conventions throughout California and etc. And I'm also part of Fanime Cafe, so if you stop by Fanime, you might see me there.
So, hello, I'm Vince. I do a lot of different things in the convention community. I do cosplay lighting, which I'll get into in just a second. But historically, I've been known under the Darkade Multimedia brand doing photography in the con scene for well over a decade now. I've done close to 200 conventions doing that. Well, thank you there on the cable. That's cool. As I said, I also like to rant a lot. I'm known as Vince Rant. That's one of my blogs online. I talk a lot about like ethics in cosplay, ethics in photography. I talk a lot about science, technology, security, things like that. And I'm also the original founder of Cosplay, which is a cosplay social network website where you can go and post your photos, and that's where I post all my photos. So if you're ever looking for my stuff, that's where you can find it all. Specifically with cosplay lighting, which is what I'm here to present today, I make pre-made LED kits for cosplayers to help simplify the process of doing LEDs, and I also do custom commissions as well. And I have a couple of my product samples up here on the table. And besides that, if you look at the bottom right corner, that's kind of a wide angle shot of what I use for some of these others. I set up LED kits for photography as well. So sometimes it's me doing photography, sometimes it's others. And so you can see all the different like colored lighting there. And on the top left is the very first commission that I did was a Magical Girl Demon for BlizzCon last year. And the whole thing animates, it does text, it plays Tetris, and it does a whole bunch of other stuff. Like it is very good details.
Hello, I'm Key. My website is Ethereal Hearts, which I recently started blogging again, kind of sporadically. But I've been cosplaying since '99, and on the tech side, I studied electrical and computer engineering for a couple of years before I decided that that's not what I wanted to do with my life. And then I went to FITM and got a degree in fashion design, so that's what I do. I'm the one who did the Starry costumes. If you've seen the Angel Hearts Starry costumes, the light-up costumes, which we wore at AnimeCon 2012, I'm the one who designed the lights for that project. Okay, so to start with, before we get into anything complicated, I just wanted to say, if you just need lights in your costume and you're not familiar with what's out there, there are a lot of pre-made items that are really easy to just buy and stick in your costumes if you're willing to spend the money. Of course, it is cheaper if you do it yourself, but it's not really expensive to get some pretty nice stuff. You can get fairy lights, tea lights, wreath lights, which is what I have in my headband. I just went to Michael's, bought some wreath lights. They're in the floral section with all the arrangement type stuff to make wreaths. There's a bunch of light stuff there. You can go to Fry's or even like Target probably has fairy lights and tea lights. So there's a lot of stuff. And of course Amazon, you can get battery powered fairy lights on Amazon that do all kinds of fancy things. So if you're just looking for something quick and simple, not specific, like this was very specific, we needed to light it up in a certain way, then there's plenty of pre-made things out there.
In my order. Just so you know.
Okay, so I'm going to go into what a basic circuit is. It's a closed loop battery, basically. The direction of current is a positive charge would flow. For example, a current in a copper wire is due to the motion of negatively charged electrons. And it's really technical, but you know, your basic physics college class will go more into detail. And I want to get through the slides because we have a lot, so I won't go into too much detail, but basically you start off with the battery, and then you go to the ground. And we'll go more into detail later.
That just shows the bare minimum of what you need to light up a project. You need a battery, which is the voltage. You need an LED, which is the V LED there. And then you need a resistor, because if you have too much current going through there, you're going to blow your LED and it's going to stop working forever. So those are the three things you need to have a basic light up system.
Blown LEDs smell really, really bad, trust me.
Okay, so the materials you need is an LED. So an LED is a light emitting diode. It's a 2-lead semiconductor light source. And I prefer to use ones from Amazon. They're called Microtivity. And each one comes with a spec, so a spec sheet that determines your voltage and your maximum in the milliamps that you can run it. And you generally want to stay out of the maximum, so we tend to use, like, if the maximum is 20, we tend to go to like 15 or even 10.
So 20, above 20 milliamps is when your LED will blow, so you don't want to get anywhere near 20. We aimed for 10 with Starry, but after all the resistance, it actually ended up being closer to 5, so that's what this is.
Yeah, it's still super bright, so it's awesome.
If you just want a plain color, not RGB LEDs, if you want one color LED, and they come in all these colors, but they will do only that one color, they're really simple to wire. If you want like changing RGB colors, then that's more complicated.
Yeah. And usually these LEDs come with a resistor in a pack. So the number of LEDs equal the number of resistors, but it's up to you if you need to use all of them.
Resistors. Okay, here's a simple chart of how to read a resistor. We're going to go over later how you calculate what kind of resistor you need to get to the right current that you want to run your LEDs at. The first, what is it, read is a number, and then the last one is the multiplier.
Yeah, you have the multiplier and then the tolerance after that.
Yeah, and the tolerance.
Because, yeah, when you're dealing with LEDs, so 1% tolerance or 5% or 10% tolerance, you'll be fine with that. The reason for the higher tolerances is when you start getting into digital circuits and they're extremely precise on their voltage, where it's like 1.4 digits afterwards, and that's when that starts mattering. But for the LEDs, like we're talking about, how, you know, they're going anywhere between 5 and 20 milliamp. I mean, that's what, like a 400% approximately variance. So it's, LEDs are pretty tolerant to a lot of different things. Actually, do you mind if I take a quick 2-second break? I can actually, so right now I realized I'm actually pulled an old version of the slides and they're missing a couple, so I'm going to just very quickly, I think I have access to just download the other slides real quick. It'll take me like 2 seconds because I should have internet right now. Let's see if we have this. I know, but I'm very well aware of that. There's nothing special here.
Cut it off this one. That's fine.
Oh, well, you get to see my Google Drive. Head over loads. If not, I'll just go right back to this one, because this one has about half the slides that we were planning on. I'll take that out just in case real quick. Well, not up really. Because I did spend a lot of time on some of these other slides that have a lot of key information that we want to present, so I want to make sure you guys get all the good stuff. Because that, you guys can talk about some of your stuff on the table here while I'm doing this real quick.
Yes. So on the far left, you have my LED Lolita bonnet. So I made this bonnet in 2014 for the Angelic Pretty anniversary tea party. And I made it because usually Lolita dresses, they sell out really fast. And all the accessories sell out really fast. So I didn't have any matching accessories to wear with it was the Daydream Carnival cellophane. And so I created this lavender bonnet to match my dress. And inside, there are only 4 small pink LEDs that's connected to a tiny lily pad controller that fades on and off.
Lily pad tiny is what it's called.
Yeah, lily pad tiny.
Yeah, lily pads are really cool. These are some of my pre-made boards over here. They're a little bit smaller than lily pads, but they actually use the exact same chips. So these are running off the 18 megas or 18 tinies, which is also what the lily pads use. And I will pull those up in just 2 seconds because the file is downloaded. I just have to open it now. Is that okay easy? And where did it go? Oh, I thought I hit the download button. Show it to me. Technology is hard. Okay, it just now started downloading apparently. It's being slow. Tell the internet to go faster. Can we get some sharing for the internet?
Next to my bonnet is my Ida bag. It's of Ami Futami from the Idolmaster. And I just added fairy lights to it. It's super easy. You just string it together. And it already comes with like a cell battery. So it lasts a long time too.
Do you want to keep going so we can talk about that? Sorry.
Okay.
Those are the last couple slides anyway, so you can just cover them now. And then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one is my bouquet from my wedding. So I made flowers out of organza, and underneath each flower is 3 LEDs that rotate in different colors. And yeah, I put this all together like the day before my wedding. But everything was prepped. I just had to assemble it.
What kind of LEDs did you use?
These are slow rotating microactivity LEDs you can find on Amazon. They come in like a pack of 30 with a resistor for each one.
What kind of battery pack did you use with it?
It's a 2 AAAs. Yeah, it's hooked onto the stem. And then this one is related to Starry, so he can go more into that.
Should we get into the story? Should we just do the story?
Sure.
Okay. We just have a picture. Okay. The Starry was built off, mostly off the lily pad technology. If you're not familiar with the Idolmaster, the Starry costumes light up in a marquee, so they have these chasing lights, and they're all over the costume. And we wanted them as accurate as possible because we knew that there were options out there for just various blinking lights, but we wanted specifically the pattern. It's a 3 on, 1 off marquee. And I knew with my little experience in engineering and programming that a marquee is basically the got to be some way that we can do this by hand and cheaply. Like, I wish we didn't have to buy expensive strip lights, and strip lights don't bend the right way. We have lights going down our legs, so it needed to bend. So someone told me to Google e-textiles and informed me about this thing called conductive thread, which I wouldn't recommend, but conductive thread is useful if you need it to bend and you need your custom washable. If you want to put it in the wash, you can put the conductive thread and the lily pads in water and wash them if you need to. So we use conductive thread, we use lily pad controllers, which, they're in, there's one in here, but lily pad controllers, and straw hat LEDs because they're shorter than the regular LEDs. And then we just got a bunch of these cabochons, these gems, and put them over each LED. We had to drill holes in the back of these to put them over the LEDs and then spray them with glitter and attempt to diffuse them, although you can tell it's not perfect. But so the wiring we sewed with the conductive thread. And then we had to hand sew each LED to the thread so that we made our circuits. And then it's all attached to a lily pad, which is attached to a battery pack. The only thing that stumped me is that the lily pad has a maximum current of like 40 milliamps or something.
Yeah,
so we had to use drivers, and I don't know anything about drivers, so I had to have my dad help me with that. So I can't go much into that, but if you want to do something really simple, you can, this doesn't need a driver because it's small. I could fit all the LEDs on the lily pad without needing anything extra, but if you want a big project like some of our costumes, they had 250 LEDs on them running off the lily pads, so we needed to have drivers for that. So just be aware, look at the spec sheets, see what kind of current it can handle, and see if you need to make adjustments, or I'm sure Vince can tell you more about what to do.
Yeah, so it's still downloading, so I think we're just going to run the slides out of order. We can run through what we have now, and then we'll just go back to the extra slides once it's finally downloaded. Yeah, so talking about the current load, the microcontrollers, which are part of the selection of slides we're missing currently, which would be nice to have. I do have actual physical sheets if you guys want to come up and look at them. I actually printed out spec sheets for a bunch of the microcontrollers. They are processors, and processors are just a bunch of transistors mostly, transistors and a couple of resistors and other stuff internally. And yeah, they have an extremely limited amount of power because they're so tiny that they can actually output. And so if you hook up too many LEDs to it, you will literally just burn out the chip and it will just fry and die. What she's talking about with the drivers, they're actually really large transistors that sit outside of the processor. And when you shove a little bit of voltage to a transistor, it's basically a gate that then opens up. Think of it just like an electronic switch. So you apply voltage on one side, voltage comes through the other, and this is how basically a lot of high voltage, high amperage circuits work. And like I said, I don't have the slides for that to show you just at the moment, but we're just going to continue with what we have now, and if I can get to it, we'll get to it at the end.
Or you can contact one of us later and ask if you need more information.
We'll probably just make this a slideshow public afterwards. We'll just publish it so you guys can actually see all the cool stuff. So, next up we have a bunch of power sources, and I had, in the revised version I had a couple more than just these, and luckily I do have them on the table with me. When you look at there's different normal types of batteries you're probably used to seeing, like D, C, A, the AAA, quadruple A batteries, things like that. Those are normal household electronic batteries you're used to seeing. Here it mentions alkaline batteries are 1.5 volts. As we saw on the spec sheet, a lot of LEDs are somewhere between 2 and 3 volts. Like if you have a 3 volt LED, you can literally plug in 2 batteries in series with an LED without a resistor and you're fine, because you're not overvolting it. If it's like a 2 volt LED, you need like some sort of current limiting resistor, or else it's going to go pop and you're going to get smoke everywhere. Like I said, it's nasty smelling. I've done it. What's not mentioned here though is that this is alkaline batteries, and I'm sure a lot of you deal with like AA rechargeables, AAA rechargeables. Those are actually 1.2 volts instead. So if you have an LED that's, let's say, 2.4 volts, and you have two nickel metal hydride rechargeable batteries in series with it, you're already at the right voltage. You don't need any resistance with it. But be very, very careful that you know your circuit at that point, and you don't put the wrong battery in, because then things go pop. And of course, we have what's listed here is the EP3, and as you guys usually know them as 9-volt batteries, so that's a lot more power. So you're going to need a lot more resistance with something like that. And then down at the bottom are a couple other things, like obviously these are not rendered to scale. CR2032 is like a watch battery. They're tiny, they're about the size of a quarter, and they generally provide 3 volts. They're also alkaline batteries, so you need very minor amount of resistance with that. You can, depending on if you get actual 3-volt LEDs, I've seen people just connect the LED directly to the battery with no other attachments, because of the pins or the fins of the LED will just slide right over it. And then we have a lithium polymer battery. When you look online, like you can buy these from Amazon or something, they're usually LiPo. It's the short acronym, kind of like nickel metal hydride is NiMH. And those are going to be the 2 most common types of rechargeable batteries on the market right now. And I don't really have a preference one over the other. It's just depending on what type of project you're using. As reference, who has cell phones? Everybody, yes, I do. These are LiPo batteries inside a cell phone. So what you're seeing here is on the bottom left, that is what a bare LiPo battery looks like with a wire coming off of it. One thing I will recommend if you're doing LiPo, they are semi-dangerous to work with, but get the ones that have the built-in voltage regulation chips on them. If you notice how this has the yellow strip over the side, that yellow strip is actually a protective cover over that voltage regulator. As long as you have that, you don't have to worry as much about overcharging them to recharging or discharging them too far, because basically if they have too much or too little, it charges when they're dangerous. But as long as you have that chip on there, and that will generally manage all that for you, so you don't have to worry about it too much. And just make sure you look at your spec sheets and follow along with what your spec sheets say.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about conductive wire. For the Starry project, we use conductive thread, but after the Starry project, my dad, who's also an electrical engineer, suggested I use ProWick, which is a desoldering copper braid used to soak up solder. And it's flexible, and when you need bends in your costume, you can actually bend. However, do not solder it too much, because adding too much solder can make it brittle and it will break. We also used a telephone wire from Radio Shack, if Radio Shack is still existing. That was a while ago. And yeah, we had color-coded wires so we could determine, okay, which one's positive or which one's negative. And yeah, that really helped with our project too.
Quick little upgrade note on that. I personally don't use telephone wire. I use network cable wire. You get 8 wires instead of 4, and they're thicker wires so they can handle higher currents.
In addition to that, I heard that the silicone-coated wires are really good to use because they're really flexible.
Quick note on wiring. If you want flexible wires, there's 2 different types of wiring inside of the actual sheath itself. There's what's called solid core, and then there's stranded. A solid core will be literally a single strip of copper, and that's thicker, and it's going to be more brittle, and it's actually designed for in-wall wiring. If you want something that's really flexible, specifically look for what's called stranded wire, and so it'll be inside of it a braid of a bunch of really, really thin strands, but because of that, it can actually bend and flex, and when you look at like charging cables or, like these cables here, these are all stranded, that way they can bend and flex, and that's the kind of thing you want for your costume as well.
Soldering. Yay, soldering. So unless you're working with the conductive thread, which I'll talk about in a bit, you're working with the wires, you need to solder. I don't know, how common soldering is in high school, but if you don't know how to solder, I'm sure there's lots of tutorials online. Do you have a tutorial?
I don't yet, but I will be making one, because I get into a lot more detail, because when I started, I did electronics when I was a kid. I sucked at it. I started about a year ago, and I posted a couple photos, and I had other techie friends come in and yell at me for how bad I was doing. Because, but it taught me exactly what I needed to do. What's missing from this slide is flux. And flux is basically, it's a chemical compound that helps solder flow. And you put the flux on the contacts, or you put a little flux on the wire, and the solder will just magically adhere to it, and it will flow down it. Like when you're dealing with these pads on these things, you should put just a little dab of flux on it. When you go to put the solder will actually flow off the tip of the solder iron straight onto the board. Or a lot of times I'll pre-tin my wires. So that means when you strip your wire, you have all the bare wire at the end. Remember, copper oxidides, and it starts doing it immediately. Even if you can't see it, it will start immediately and degrading the quality of the tip of the wire. So you put a little bit of flux on it. The flux will actually clean the wire, and then you put the solder on it, and it will actually bond all those wires together, and you'll have one solid wire. So you can like feed it through holes really easily, and it's also protecting the wire, having a cover over the copper itself. And of course, we show a soldering iron down here and a spool of solder. Just a quick note, this says ROHS solder. I forget exactly what that stands for. It's a European term, not here in the States. That means it's lead-free. Over in Europe, they have a mandate you're not allowed to have lead in your solder. Here in the States and over in Asia, that doesn't matter. But if you want something that's more healthy, because lead is bad for you, get ROHS solder. I highly recommend it. It is harder to solder. I will admit that right now. But it is better for your health in the long run. That way you're not getting lead poisoning.
Can you say that one more time? So I'm having a hard time telling what kind of solder?
ROHS.
Thank you.
Yeah, and again, like all this, we will have the slides available for you afterwards, and you can actually see the ROHS logo on this particular spool of solder. So like when you look at the slides later on, you will be able to see the text. I know that's hard to see with that projector being way down there.
It says lead-free on it.
Yeah, if you just search for lead-free solder, that's the main thing you need to look for.
Okay, so for soldering, you would need a soldering iron. So this one was handed down to me from my dad. And it comes with a power source separate from the soldering tip, which is a lot safer than your usual like simple soldering iron that's all connected into one. So basically it has a tip that you hold like a pencil and a coiled stand and a sponge that you can clean your soldering iron tip.
A quick note for cleaning the soldering tip, because again with tutorials, I've only found this recently. Actually dab a lot of solder on your tip itself and let it sit there and heat up, and then wipe it on the sponge, because all the chemical residue that's been left over, especially from flux, will just clean, it will adhere to the solder and just wipe off, and you'll get you want a nice shiny tip. The entire soldering iron doesn't have to be shiny, just that little quarter-inch at the end where the actual heating element is.
So you have your soldering iron, you put the solder on the soldering iron, you clean it off, then you put the soldering iron to whatever you want to solder, and then you put the solder on it.
Yeah.
You want to heat it up first so that when you touch it with the solder, it melts. If you try to do it right away, it'll get globby as it's melting, and it kind of sticks, and you don't want that. So you want to make sure that whatever you're soldering to is hot first, and then when you touch it with the solder, it'll be clean.
So another trick I just learned recently, to heat up the surface you're trying to solder to, put a little bit of solder on your iron and use that little piece of solder to touch what you're trying to heat up. And because remember, the soldering iron is cylindrical, and usually the things you're trying to solder are wires which are cylindrical or pins that are cylindrical, and so you get into this really tiny connection point. But if you have a piece of solder on there, that gives you a very large area of heat transfer from one to the other. And so you'll heat up your whatever you're trying to heat up a lot quicker. And then when you touch the solder to the pin, because you should be soldering directly to the pin, not to the wire, or not to the soldering iron itself. By doing it that way, you'll get a much quicker, cleaner job. Like when doing like a full microcontroller like this, it's literally, I just go straight down. I can do it under a minute now for one of these. And that's what, like 50 soldering points or so? It's literally that quick once you have just that little dab of solder on the iron itself.
Okay, just really quickly going through materials, because we are halfway on our panel right now. So I use pliers and wire stripper to
Get the coating on the wire.
Yeah, to expose the wire.
Looking at the strippers real quick, you'll notice it looks like a bunch of teeth. Those actually aren't teeth, those are different circular sized holes. And each hole applies to a different gauge of wire. Gauge is how thick the wire is. You can think of gauge, the size of the actual wire. Well, the wire usually will tell you what gauge it is. Like how I mentioned, I work with a lot of just using computer network cable. That's either 22 or 24 gauge wire. So I just talked about, I have a stripper set that does both 22 and 24, because that's most of what I use.
Okay, and then you can use electrical tape or heat shrink to re-coat the wire that you've exposed so that it's all contained. And then you have your battery pack and a switch.
And sometimes you can find battery packs with switches.
Yeah.
Yes. As a note, wire is extremely brittle. Copper is brittle. It's a very brittle metal. Then, besides just shielding the wire from itself so you're not short-circuiting, the other thing is that the coating on the outside is actually to protect the wire. So me personally, I don't like using electrical tape. I use a lot of heat shrink. It is my go-to. So when I do something like these LED boards here, you'll notice there's actually a piece of black heat shrink on this as well. That means all the pressure from the wire all the way to the board is now being put on the heat shrink instead. If that wasn't there, I'd have an exposed solder joint, and as this flops around, the wire will literally snap and break because it's so brittle. And so this is just here as a protectionary method, and you guys can come up and see that later. I'm using this in a bigger example, but I also do it on a per wire example when I'm doing other types of soldering jobs too.
And then to test out your project, you want to use a multimeter. It just gives you a readout, but actually with the Sorry project, we just use a battery and with a bunch of resistors. And we also use alligator clips. It's color-coded red for positive, black for negative.
Basically, you want to check your wiring and make sure there's no shorts or that you didn't do anything wrong before you actually put the whole thing together and stick your batteries in and blow everything up.
So my mother went to electronic school in the early 80s, and I'm still using her multimeter from back then. And it's funny because hers actually has more features than the one you're looking at on the screen. Which this one looks like it does, if I'm reading the symbols right. My favorite feature is the buzzing mode. And what you do is you take the two pins of the multimeter and you tap them together. If there's continuity, which means it makes a complete circuit, it will buzz at you, so you don't have to look at the screen. And so you can test your circuits this way. You'll start at like one end of a wire and another end, like if you've been doing soldering and other stuff in between, and you can see by touching the two ends using the two sticks from the multimeter, if it buzzes, it's a complete circuit. It also does the inverse as well. So if you touch, let's say, the positive wire on your circuit and the negative wire in your circuit, and all of a sudden it's buzzing, that means you have a short in your circuit somewhere. So you can find that out before you plug a battery in and everything blows up. It's not going to blow up, don't worry. It's just, you'll heat up the battery and that's it.
And then I makeshift a fan and a filter so that you don't breathe in any of the soldering fumes. And at the bottom there, I use interfacing for my fabric.
You're basically filtering out all the chemicals because there's a bit of chemicals that come up in the air when you're soldering.
Okay, and then I'll go into Ohm's law just a little bit. It's just a basic equation or formula to calculate voltage, amps, and resistance. And the picture here is a river with rocks, and it's like an analogy where the voltage flows through a river, but then there's obviously resistance like the rocks, and then the current, which is the water, the amps.
So one quick thing, I haven't really gotten into my RGB LEDs because that was one of the things that was the slides that are missing because I pulled the wrong copy of the slideshow, so I'm done like that. Let's go over one more. Let's get a rainbow going. These particular ones, the resistor is actually built directly into the LED. So you don't have to do any calculation at all. These particular lights, they run straight at 5 volts, which is what I'm using the cell phone chargers. And I'm using a big one, but I also use smaller ones. And so there are LEDs on the market where you don't have to do all the math, you don't have to do all the calculations and everything else. You plug them in, and for the most part they work. There's basically a trade-off in gotcha. So like with these LEDs on these circuits, like with the lily pads and whatnot, a lot of these you can plug them in, they work. I mean, if you're using a lily pad, you have a microcontroller, you have to program it. But like the static LEDs, you put power and they light up. With these, you actually have to run computer software instead to make them do whatever you want them to do, even back to the math.
Okay. So if you're doing a really simple circuit that is like sorry, you have plain LEDs that go straight to the current lines, which are the conductive thread in this case. So you have your wiring and your LEDs, it's all connected directly. Then the ohms law is relevant because you need to put a resistor in because there's nothing there. So you have your voltage from the batteries, you have your current that you want judged based on your number of LEDs, and it's additive. So if you have like 5 LEDs that you want to run at 5 milliamps, then you do 25 milliamps. Okay. Just making sure. Yeah, so additive. So however, if you have more LEDs, you need more current.
Yep.
So figure out how many lights you want first. My recommendation is use as few lights as you can to still get the effect you want, because it's not really worth it to just load it up. It's too much work. And if you have 200, that's a lot of current.
I'm the exact opposite. I like to shove as many LEDs as possible in things.
We had to tell some of the girls. One of the girls, literally, we tried to count, and we figured that the costume probably had 600 lights on it. We were like, you need to get that down. Just don't light it up. So she lit half of it. She took off rows of lights. She didn't do the back, and got down to about 250, I think. But sometimes you can't do picture accurate because they do crazy things.
Yeah, you want it to be practical.
You don't want to blow yourself up. You don't want to burn yourself. If you're running too much current and if you go short, you don't want to electrocute.
I'm going to touch just on another bit of math because it's one thing we've not covered yet, and it applies directly to this. A milliamp, milli is just a side prefix. That's 1,000th of an amp. So 1,000 milliamps is 1 amp. Again, looking at like cell phone chargers, how many of you have like a 2.4 amp charger? Do you guys even know what those are? Like the quick chargers and things like that? So that's 2,400 amps of power that thing can deliver continuously. And that's part of the reason I use these, is because like what we're talking about here, the more LEDs you start stacking, the more power hungry these things get. These are 16 or 10. Yeah, these were the 10 LED strips that I cut out. And they're RGB LEDs, so that's red, green, and blue per pixel that you see here. And they're upwards of 20 milliamp per color. So that's 20 times 3, that's 60 milliamps per LED times 10, so that's 600 milliamp. That's a lot of freaking power. So you know you're commenting how bright these are over here. And that's part of why I use these large USB battery packs rather than normal conventional AA, AAA batteries, because that is a lot of power to drive, but that's also, you have the trade-off. These bricks are heavy and they're big. There are smaller ones, but you're not going to get as much life out of them. But that was something I had to take a lot of consideration into. My largest project so far is I think 600 or 700 of these LEDs, and we are running, instead of counting in milliamps, I think we were running 10 amps total when we were done. And so that's, if you notice, this particular board here has 5 ports of USB connectivity for input for power, and that's what it took to actually run the outfit, which I think I have the slides here. I hope I do.
Okay, and well, we kind of see the road, but series and parallel circuits. If you know the old Christmas tree lights, or one of them burns out, then your whole strand is dead. That's because it's in series. It means they're attached end to end. So there's an LED and then there's another LED like this. So if one of them's dead, then suddenly you have no connection there, the power doesn't go through, the whole thing's dead.
Yeah.
So,
if you look at the slide here, any one of those 3 LEDs die, you lose the entire circuit.
Yeah.
Because all of them have to be connected for it to work.
the way we have it drawn, there's a resistor on each LED. Some LEDs come like that, but you don't need a resistor in front of every LED. If you're wiring it completely yourself with a separate resistor, you can put one resistor at the beginning of your line to account for the entire line, or actually you can put it anywhere, but for organization's sake, put it at the beginning so you know where it is. And then you can put all your LEDs, string them all after that. Then we have parallel, where you have two lines, you have the circuit, and then in between you put the LEDs so that they're doing individual loops.
So basically,
they're all separate.
Basically, technically, you have three separate circuits running at once here. So if any one of them goes out, the other two will continue to function.
And again, you don't need the resistor next to the LED. You can put one at the beginning as long as it's on the positive line before it goes to any of the LEDs.
Yeah, so there's a few other configurations you can do. We just didn't have time to put them. Like, there's a lot of different configurations you can do. Let's just put it that way. Like, we listed every single one. I can give you a book. I literally could. Like, I read books, many, many big books on this.
Okay, so this is where I calculated the amount of time that the project will last if you use 3 LEDs and a 5-volt power source. And just going through the math where V equals IR, I solved for amps, right? And get milliamp hours, and then determine like which battery I was going to use, and at the end, it lasts like about 44 hours or so.
Yeah, in comparison, like I said, my big giant project where I needed 2 of these bricks, we had about 8 hours of life, and that was about it. But for cosplay, I think 8 hours is kind of the max, because that's when people start dying off the batteries.
We actually, for Starry, we were running off C and D batteries. Although I think one of the girls swapped it out for AA's because she just didn't want to carry the weight. And that just meant that her lights didn't last as long as the rest of ours.
Yeah, so the A, B, like AA's, AAA's, C, D batteries, they're all the same voltage, so they're all interchangeable in that respect. The big difference is that the bigger the physical batteries of those groups, the more of a total charge it'll hold. So the bigger D batteries will last longer than a AAA battery. That's their main difference. Ooh, this is my fun area. Microcontrollers is like my favorite thing to play with right now, because instead of just having LEDs, I can have animations and I can program them to do all sorts of different things. On the top left is a Wi-Fi enabled one, which is really cool because that means you can actually modify the animations and play with them like using your cell phone or something like that. So you can have people walk around and be your assistant and play with your animations, or you can do it, or you can reconfigure it on the fly, like when you're out in the field. Actually, the top left 2 are, as well as the central one, are all Wi-Fi ones. Bottom left, bottom right, those are both known as DigiSparks, and they run a similar chip to what you'll find in, like I said, some of the lily pads, as well as the Trinket uses the same chip. Those are Atmel chips. They're little 8-bit microcontrollers. They don't have much for storage or power, but that is literally what's inside of my little kits here that I have running these lights. And those are probably my favorite things in the world to work with. Like, they may be small, but you can do a lot with very minimal resources. And then those specifically use the surface mount version, which means I buy them pre-made. I'm not actually soldering them. They're just already on the board. But if I want to work with them directly, the top 2 on the right shows the chip by itself, one of the tiny chips, and then along with a board that a socket that it can fit into. So there's a million different configurations you can get these things in. And then again, right in the center, I have a few different versions of the board here and various stages of production, so you can actually see what it looks like before I put all the components in it. That's a full-on board that handles the power distribution, like I said, coming into the 10 amps and separating out all the different LEDs. The controlling circuit has a power LED on it, and it just kind of does a little bit of everything on it. Because again, when you're dealing with that much power, like we were talking about earlier, microcontrollers cannot handle several amps of power. They can hardly handle anything. So you need to switch it out to something else to handle all that for you.
Okay, so the lily pad projects, you go to sparkfun.com. This is probably the main site doing the lily pad products. And these were specifically meant for e-textiles, so for wearables. They're designed so they're flat and they have holes so you can sew them with conductive thread. So in theory, you do not need to solder, although we did. But
You get a better connection with solder. It's more
you
reliable.
get a much better. So the problems with the conductive thread, there's 3 problems. One is it frays a lot, so you'll get shorts like crazy if you don't be really careful with them when you cut an end. Make sure you glue it or something so that it doesn't fray everywhere and touch the next line, and so it frays. The other thing is that it's slippery. So if you try to hand sew it, you can't get a tight knot. So what we were doing is we were using a thicker conductive thread for the main lines, and then we were trying to sew the LEDs to the main lines with this finer conductive thread, and it wasn't keeping a knot. I ended up swapping out the regular thread, using the regular thread, and just tie the LED ends to the large conductive thread, and that made it a tighter connection than the smaller conductive thread. If you have a really simple project with just a few lights and a small piece, conductive thread works fine. The last problem with the conductive thread is that it has a high resistance per foot, meaning that if you have your battery pack here, this LED will get a lot more current than this LED down here because it builds across, and wire is negligible.
So something we didn't really cover and most tutorials don't. In the real world, nothing's perfect, nothing's a superconductor. Every single wire has resistance. It's just most wires, the resistance is so minimal for these types of circuits, you don't have to think about it. Conductive thread is one of the few times you do.
It's very high.
Yeah.
And you will see it. The light on the end will be dimmer. So if you have a strip and you still want to use the conductive thread, you would probably want to put the battery in the middle and work outwards so that it's a shorter distance instead of start at one end and go down. So those are the problems with the conductive thread. But the lily pads are designed so that if you don't want to deal with soldering wires and it needs to be really flexible or washable or for whatever reason, there aren't actually that many reasons where you absolutely would need it, but it is easy otherwise. These you can just sew because the loops are conductive. And they have the LEDs in the middle, those flat ones. The great thing about them is that they're really flat, and the resistor is built into the LED, so you don't have to worry about that. There's a coin cell battery holder. There's a connector for a LiPo battery. The top second one is the lily pad USB symbol. That's the one I recommend the most. It doesn't have as many outputs as the main one, which is the first one up there, but the symbol has a USB connector on it so you can connect it straight to your computer for programming. Otherwise, you have to get a breakout cord in order to connect the other lily pad to your computer to get the programs on it. But the USB one, you can plug it into the USB. It also has the connector for the LiPo battery and a switch on the board. So it's simple. It's got a lot of things that you need right on the board. The one next to that is the Lily Tiny, and it's pre-programmed just to flash, I think. Flash or fade. I think it's got 4 outputs and they're all different or something. But that one is just specifically, if you want twinkling lights and you don't want to worry about programming or anything, you just get that and you hook up your LEDs and it'll twinkle for you.
Yeah, so that's what I had on my bonnet over there.
And then there's some thread, and then just the Velcro and snaps are there because some people have used that as connectors. I wouldn't really recommend it, but it is an option. And instead of a switch, if you wanted to like Velcro something and then it turns on, you can do that with conductive Velcro.
So this is just examples of what I've used in my circuitry. When I made a Kaito headset for my husband, I made the circuit into a circular connection and soldered the LEDs directly to the circuit, which is on interfacing. And then I put that unit into the headphones here. And this is an example of where I diffused the light, where I pointed the light at a reflective source that was like just aluminum, or no, like reflective duct tape at the center there. And then it bounces the light back out where I covered the top half with organza. And then that's my bonnet. And then sorry, we talked about in the beginning.
They look awesome, by the way.
They're also dead.
Yeah, it's been too long since we worn them.
It's been 6 years.
Yeah, that's what we started with. that's the progress. That's Key's shield right there. And then that's my build right there, the schematic.
So one thing I wanted to cover, but it's in the slides that I forgot to copy over. As you see there's a custom circuit board that was done with a prototype circuit board, and that was something I wanted to show you guys. Once you build something on a prototype circuit board, I use a program called EagleCAD, and then you can literally just send your circuits out to print. It takes a little bit to learn. It has a learning curve like Photoshop. You have to learn the tools and everything. But once you're done, you send it out to print, and they send you back these circuit boards. Like, I didn't make the board. I just put it into a computer program, a CAD program, sent it off to a company, and then they send me back these boards. And it was so much easier to work with this because my biggest gripe with these types of the digital circuits is actually the number of shear wires you're dealing with. There's so many freaking wires, and if you can get all the wires on the board and you just put the components on, you can assemble these in a couple minutes and you're done.
Okay, we could probably go to the end because there's more examples. Tips and safety. You want to make sure you work safely first. Start with something easy if it's your first time working with LEDs, and then always test your project and make sure it works before putting it on.
Also, one recommendation, don't be afraid of electricity. 5 volts will not hurt you. How many people stuck a 9 volt battery to their tongue?
What?
Okay, 5 volts is almost half of that. You have nothing to worry about, all right? And that's with it being specifically like conductive, you can feel like 9 volts, it'll sting a little, or it tingles a little, that's it. Like 5 volts or lower, like these LEDs, don't worry about it. You can touch them, it'll be fine.
Those LIFOs, they're pretty powerful. Or they can't.
If they don't have the safety circuit on them, if they do, they should be fine. Get the ones with the safety circuits. Any other tips?
That's it. And oh.
Yeah, like I said, it's the older version. I'm sorry, all the pretty ones are gone.
Well,
I created a really nice pretty version of this slide.
yeah, thank you guys so much for coming to our panel, and hope it was informative. Sorry we didn't have enough time to take questions, but I mean, we have like a minute. But we'll be around the con. If you can catch up to us in the hallway and ask us questions there.
Where are you guys going to post the slides?
I can actually post them on my website. See, now that the download is done, I can go right to
Cosplay
that.
lighting.
I will go to that last slide if it'll load.
Cosplay.lighting.
Yes.
Cosplay lighting. Okay, good to know.
So my business is literally cosplay.lighting is the website. So it's a really easy name to remember. And that's really great.